pick up as much wood as we can in the mornings. We took a trip to California charcoal and firewood, picked up some red oak. We usually smoke with white oak, but I think red oak's gonna be the way to go. Clean smoke, you know, subtle, not too strong. 40-pound bags at a time, so we're pretty much just gonna haul that in Alvin's big ass FJ Cruiser. So we have a smoker that was definitely an amazing build by SG Smokers, Shane Gonzalez, shout out to you. So I'm used to smoking at home, this small little master built Gravity series, and you know, doing that since April, I've learned, you know, what not to do, what to do, cause some fires and whatnot. But Alvin gave me the opportunity to smoke with him in his new 250-gallon smoker. And ever since then, I've been learning every single day something new, learning from other pit masters. Alec at AGLS taught me how to, you know, tame a fire. You know, obviously obsessed with watching a bunch of YouTube videos on what to do, what not to do, you know, tips and tricks. But all of a sudden, everyone has their own thing, and it's like, who do I listen to? The best way to do it is just fucking do it. Learn, fuck up, and just learn from it. All right, so here we got a stack of meat, aka plate ribs, aka short rib bone in, 3-bone, way better than the 4 bones. I recommend Niman Ranch short ribs. These guys are just beautiful. Like, you see the size of them versus like you know, your typical grocery store plate ribs. They're a lot more square. These are more rectangular. There's a lot of meat on there. Things are huge. Look at that. You want to take off the silver skin. That literally looks like silver skin. It's shiny, it's tough. A lot of people get that stuck in their teeth once everything's done cooking. When you're trimming off the silver skin, don't take too much off of the fat. There's going to be some silver skin that's dug into the meat where you can't really take it out without taking off too much meat. So you'll see some sides of the short ribs still have a good amount of fat, and there's a little bit of silver skin in there. Just leave that as is, and you should be fine. So now we're at the slather. Some people don't, some people do. I recommend it. I do a combination of mayo and mustard. It's a nice fatty, but also has a nice tart. It doesn't add any much flavor to the ribs, but to me, I think it helps amalgamate the rub and give it that perfect bark at the end of your smoke. It also helps the rub stick to the meat, so that's great. Get a little bit even distribution. So when it comes to the rub, I like to vigorously season from a much higher ground so that it evenly distributes. My rub consists of 50% pepper, nice coarse pepper, a little 40% kosher salt. I recommend Diamond Crystal. I swear by it. And that 10% is a little bit of extra that I do. Just a little Bustos flair with the rub, you know, 10% love right there. All right, so we fire up the smoker to about 300, 400 degrees and get it nice and hot before it comes down to 250, 275, which is the ideal temp to put these bad boys in. And when placing the ribs, either bottom or top rack, I like placing them in the bottom rack, but you know, with space issues, you know, it doesn't matter where you put it. I do recommend though that you put the bones facing the fire, the tapered end, because you want that aerodynamics to kind of go over it. Like you think, you know, those videos of cars and wind going over it, that's how you imagine your meat. So once it does that, it kind of like shrinks up the meat a little bit and gets taller and like more compact. And that's when you see that pullback and that sexy dinosaur bone. And once I shut it, I don't open it for at least 4 to 5 hours. If you're looking, you ain't cooking. A couple homies reached out to me with a couple pieces of meat since they knew I was smoking, wanted me to throw it in there. So cleaning up a picanha here, taking off that sinew again, another piece of meat needs to be cleaned up. The sinew, the fat, a little gristle here and there. But this one, picanha has a nice fat cap. That top sirloin is popular in South American cooking, Brazil specifically. I'm pretty much treating it the same as brisket or beef rib. Do the slather and the rub liberally. So the only difference between the picanha and the rest of them is I don't let it go slow for a long time. I usually do it for about an hour to 2 hours depending on the size of the steak. And I only smoke it until it hits an internal about 115, 118. Then I let it rest. I don't usually use a thermometer or like a probe, but you know, I got this meter thermometer. It's like meter plus, and it's low key pretty tight. Like it's only the pros and cons with it. It's like it's really thick, and so it leaves a mark in your meat. But if you stick it into the right place, it doesn't really matter. But huge pros are that you can make any smoker really like a Wi-Fi enabled smoker by controlling the temp. Well, not the temp of the smoker, but like just to see what the internal temp of the meat is and the actual ambient temp of the whole smoker, which is crucial. I'm pulling out the picanhas because they reach an internal of 118. I'm letting them chill on the sheet tray for a little bit before I do anything else with them. You'll see. I placed these picanhas down fat side first, closer to the hot box. I wanted to do it hot and fast, and I pulled it at 118. I'm gonna let them hang out for about 30-45 minutes before I go all primal and barbaric on them and cook directly on some charcoal. All right, so putting them directly on hot ass charcoal is gonna give it a nice crust. It's gonna burn super, super hot. Because if I did that while it's directly out of the smoker, it would have overcooked the meat. So I let it rest, get the juices to lock inside the meat before I go to hard blistering sear. It gives you that barbaric caveman-like meat that just directly over fire, and there it is, just bubbling, smoking hot. Again, let them rest even after you did that over direct charcoal. You still want those juices to just sit inside the meat. So cutting this picanha against the grain, you can see it's medium rare throughout the whole steak. It has a nice bark. As you can see, the juice is locked in. It's been about 5 or 6 hours now. I'll open up this bad boy and give it a little spritz. I typically spritz with apple cider vinegar and water just to give it a little bit of moisture, retain the moisture in there and not affect the bark too much. So 5 to 6 hours later, you can kind of see that the meat pulled away from the bone. That pullback, it gives it that sexy dino bone look. You can already see a little bit of redness in the meat and some of the cracks, so you can tell the smoke rings developed already. The bark is super sexy. Look at that pullback. Checking out these ribs, and they're at 195.8. Give it another hour before I pull these bad boys out. I like to pull the meats out at like between 196 and like 203, because that's like the sweet spot for Texas style barbecue. All right, so I pull these guys out, pull it out at like 201, 203. So we wrap these ribs in butcher paper to protect the bark. I let them rest for at least an hour in a cooler. Yeti, shout out to Yeti. All right, once these guys have rested, we're gonna slice these up and see what they look like on the inside. Cue the dramatic music. Like the whole thing's red, you can still see the smoke ring on there. All right, I'm not one to squeeze my meat, but you know, for the gram, you gotta squeeze and show the juice. Here's the final product. Stacked all 3 bones together. You can see that beautiful smoke ring. Everything stays juicy. Everything's intact. Not mushy, not pull off the bone. It's legit the perfect beef rib.
All right, everyone. We just showed you how to make smoked beef ribs on our SG Metals smoker. So this is a Niman Ranch dino rib that we carry at Amboy Quality Meats. Great pullback. Look at that smoke ring. It's not too crazy. And that's because we have such a great smoker. Check out the bark. Ooh, look at the bark. You know, you got zero real rub off on that. And that's when you know you have a great bark. It's not coming off when you like flick it like that. And look at all that beautiful juice.
Yeah, dude, we literally sliced this like 5 minutes ago and it's still juicy.
I mean, the key to great barbecue beef ribs is A, having patience, right? Not always opening your smoker.
Yeah.
And just having really great ingredients, quality meats, quality meats, quality meats. And this is what we get. I can't wait to taste this bad boy.
Yeah. Slice that bad boy off the bone.
Oh, baby.
All that stuff, all that grizzy, put that in your fried rice. That Bastos fried rice, you know what I'm saying?
I mean, look at that.
We gotta zoom in on this ring right here. Boom, boom. Cheers.
Cheers. Whoa.
Man. Bleep that out.
It's really hard to compete with beef ribs.
Oh, man.
I'm not suggesting that you throw down an entire 3-bone dino rib.
Bite yourself.
I mean, I've seen you do that on the internet.
Oh, shout out to Raina for eating 2 of these ribs on her own.
Cut to that video.
And then we will get started to see if I can eat all this food. I believe this is like 5 pounds of meat each. So this is 10 pounds of meat right here.
Wow. Because I mean, I'm having, you know, a couple of these and I'm like, I'm good.
Yeah, meat sweats, definitely a thing.
What I love about making beef ribs is that it's not like a brisket in a sense where you're not spending 12 to 20 hours of cooking. This is something that we started early in the day, made it fit in a work day.
Yeah, we had time to pick up wood. But I mean, another nickname for this is brisket on a stick, you know? It has that point vibe for sure.
Oh, it's great. This is like for that
Someone
day.
just picks this up,
Yeah.
puts this right next to your head.
And honestly, this is like, I wouldn't be ashamed to serve this to the best of the barbecue guys out there. And you know, we're still on a path where we're learning. And so like, this is something that I would gladly take feedback on.
Oh, absolutely.
Tell us what you think in the comments. Let us know how we're doing. But try smoking beef ribs. If you're in the LA area, come check us out. Quality meats, baby.
And lastly, don't forget to come to Amboy and buy some quality meats.
Quality meats, baby. Let's go.
Come on now, come on now, come on now.
Zoom. 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 Zoom.
Chef Alvin in the kitchen, grilling it. What's that smell, man? I'm feeling it. Who got burgers, man? I got steaks. Who got filet mignon? I got steaks. Ooh, Chef Alvin in the kitchen, grilling it. What's that smell? Yo, I'm feeling it. Who got wagyu? I got steaks. Who got barbecue? I got